Hey everyone, how's it going? Geek here, and today I've got another awesome weekly update video for you guys. I've been working pretty hard this week, trying to get my concepts for the updated game modes fully functional in Beta 2. I've also tweaked several game mechanics, I'm working on organizing the HUD, and I'm working on designs to update the menu screens. I've also been working on a few side projects that will hopefully be exciting for the community, and we're announcing the names of the voice actors that you all voted for this week. We have a lot to talk about, so let's jump right in. As always, check out the time codes in the video description if you want to jump around. Before we get started, I made a bet that you guys couldn't hit the subscribe button enough times that it breaks like the Flash's timeline. Why not try and prove me wrong? Starting off strong, let's talk about the original game mode I've been working on this week. Specifically, it's been Chase Reverse Flash. See, that game mode was a lot of fun in Beta 1, until people realized using flash time made it super easy to tag him every single time. Not a lot of challenge in that game mode once you figured that out. Also, the reverse flash would occasionally stop moving in the first beta, and there's two reasons why that would happen. The first was intentional. I thought it'd be a great idea if he stopped running once in a while, which would kill his lightning trail and make it harder to find him. You might blow right past him and lose track, meaning you're wasting time trying to backtrack to look for him. That's cool and all, but the second reason was probably the most common that would happen, which wasn't intentional. If the player was far enough away, reverse flash would stop running because his code was set to try and stay a certain distance away from the player. If he reached that distance, he'd just stop. He'd start running again once you got close enough, but he never has a chance to start because you'd always be on him in a flash. Hashtag pun intended. So how'd I fix it? Well, the game mode now has two parts to it. The catching him part and the kicking his ass part. Reverse Flash will run through Central City like last time, except his goal isn't to keep away from you. Instead, he's following a specific path to get where he wants to go. You have to keep up with him, tailing him the whole way. Now I know what you're thinking. Why can't I just run straight to the end goal and beat him there every time or something? Yeah, I can tell. There's probably a dozen comments already down there about that exact thing, but don't worry, I've planned for that. See, I figured some players would just figure out where Reverse Flash is running to and head straight there at the start of the game every time. Once again, no challenge there. So instead, you're not supposed to just catch Reverse Flash, you're supposed to fight him. What, you're probably asking? That's right, it's not enough to just tag him, now you gotta hit him. I put a counter in his code, keeping track of how many times he's hit. If you don't hit him enough times when he reaches his goal, he's out of there. You have failed this city. Nah, I'm just kidding, the game won't say that, but I'll say it though, because not hitting him enough times means you lose. If you do hit him enough times, he'll stop once he gets to the end, and you guys can settle who's the fastest man alive. Spoiler alert, he thinks it's him and he's dying to kill you, so have fun with it. There's a bit more to it though. I know what you're thinking again, because I can read minds. YouTube gives you some crazy powers. What if I'm so good I hit him enough times really early in the game mode? Now I just have to follow him around for the rest of it? That seems boring. First of all, have some patience, kid. It's a virtue, you know. The game mode isn't that long, and chasing him for a bit won't kill you. Second of all, there's actually a purpose to it. Each hit deals damage that's carried over for the second phase of the boss fight. Hitting him just the required amount, the second phase will start with only a minor advantage in health. Not really substantial though. Hit him a crap ton of times, then good for you. You're good at video games. You'll also go into the second phase with a huge health advantage though, starting Reverse Flash off with as low as half health. That can be helpful considering that the time limit isn't going away. Win the second phase in just a few minutes or Reverse Flash decides you're too slow and he runs off. This is definitely going to be an epic game mode when it's done. Right now, I'm testing the running phase of the combat, having Reverse Flash run along a specified track and making sure the game detects when you hit or miss an attack properly. So far, so good. Next, I'll be adding animations to each hit and then moving on to the second phase. Speaking of moving on, let's move on to talking about the tweak I made to the game. This was a huge request from the community, with everyone wanting the camera FOV to expand when you sprint to avoid the lightning trail flashing in your face and making it easier to see your surroundings at full speed. It looks good, and admittedly, it does make running a little easier. I'm also going to add an FOV control in the settings, and I know some people really wanted me to include that too. Okay, enough beating around the bush. Who's ready to talk about voice actors? So the second beta is planned to have some voice acting in it, whether it be in the mini games, in planned first chapter of the story, or in the free room. So in today's video, I'm going to announce the names of the actors that you voted for this past week and introduce a little surprise. Before I announce the first three members of the voice cast, I just wanted to thank everyone again who submitted an audition for the first three characters, and especially to the voice actors who got the callbacks. You all did amazingly, and it sucks that I can only pick 3 of you. Seriously, congratulations to all the callbacks, you guys were incredible. Starting off, we have our first character. The people call him insane, the cops call him a murderer, and the writers call him dead. Introducing the Arrow, voiced by Tallest Squash.
You have failed this city.
Next up, we have a villain we all love to hate. He's mean, he's adjacent to green, don't say he's like the Flash at all, he'll just say he's the Reverse. We have Reverse Flash, voiced by Vladdy Boy.
And to be clear, nothing is forgiven. There will be a reckoning, I promise you, Barry Allen. Then you will die.
Finally, the big reveal. The man, the myth, the legend, the guy who constantly breaks his own timeline like a Kit Kat bar, and the one who cries at least once in every season, if I remember correctly. It's the Flash, voiced by the community's very own Clapper.
There's only one thing I know about life. I know that some things happen by chance, and some things happen because we make them happen.
To all three of you, congratulations on getting the community vote. As the game progresses through development, I'll be reaching out to you periodically to let you know when lines need to be recorded. Speaking of needing people to record lines, there is one other person whose voice you'll be hearing throughout the game occasionally. I wanted to incorporate some world building into this game, something to make Central City feel a bit more populated. So I'm adding in a little podcast radio station for the players to listen to in free roam. You'll hear some music, maybe some news reports, etc., etc. Aside from all that though, you'll be able to hear the podcast of a specific Central City civilian who will be periodically giving his thoughts on the various super shenanigans going on throughout the city, as well as his ramblings on other topics too. The idea is he can partially help explain the narrative directions from a civilian viewpoint, helping build the world around you and letting the players see how their gameplay is affecting the city. He can also potentially factor into occasional side missions, though I haven't fully planned that out yet. Regardless, our podcasting patron is none other than the studio's very own Crichton. Hopefully you guys like the inclusion of some world building being introduced, and who knows, maybe we'll need some people for Crichton to interview in his podcast, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, before we move on to talking about the more recent side projects I've been working on, let's talk about the upcoming vote for a game mode. So like I mentioned last week, I've been cooking up some additional game modes for the upcoming beta. I want you guys as the community to vote on said game modes to decide which ones make it into the game. Each vote, you guys will have 3 options to choose from. Like before, you just vote on whichever game mode you find most interesting. This upcoming vote, which will be posted in the community tab like always, your options are escaping from time wraiths as the Flash, stopping a cartel operation as the Arrow, or defeating the Flash once and for all as Reverse Flash. Each of these concepts are pretty cool, I think, and can be a ton of fun to play. So stay tuned for voting this week to cast your vote on which game mode seems more appealing to you. So, before I wrap up the video, I wanted to talk about something I've been planning on the side to hopefully boost the channel a bit and to excite the community. See, I've gotten a ton of DMs asking me to work on additional games. While the specific topic of the game varies, one thing is pretty consistent: the superhero theme. Whether it's a Teen Titans game, a Batman and Robin game, a Spider-Man game, or a Superman game, yeah, it's mostly DC requests, people want me to make other games. More specifically, people want me to make superhero games. I've also gotten a ton of requests to show my process more on how I make games. Since it isn't feasible to work on multiple full games at the same time, I've decided to work on some quick side projects, demos really, centered around the superhero genre more often than not. In these videos, I can explain the process of making the game, show off parts of development, and finally show the finished product. These aren't intended to be tutorials. I'm working on a series of tutorials already. Rather, they're just going to be neat developer vlogs to show the process of making my games. I think it's a neat idea and will allow me to produce more content that more people enjoy, as I finally get to tackle the various requests that I frequently get in DMs, and it allows me to get creative on projects that are wildly different from the Flash game. Also, it helps that the short demos produced won't take as long as fully fledged games, making it easier for me to multitask. Either way, I'm excited to work on these and hopefully you guys will be interested in watching them. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. It would help out a ton, and Reverse Flash threatened to kill me if we don't reach 10,000 subs by New Year's, so please help me out. If we make it, I'll let my brother out of the dungeon he's in for a quick collab video on one of those demos I mentioned earlier. Speaking of demos, hopefully you guys like the idea of a peek behind the curtain, so to speak, on game development, and if so, be sure to hit the like button. Hitting the like button on one of my videos a day helps keep time wraiths away, so it's good practice for your health. Also be sure to join me over on Discord, where you can, and people have, sent me their requests on games that they'd like to see me work on. With these short demos being a thing now, I can potentially work on what you want to see. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you all in the next one.